The stars were scattered across the dark sky like tiny diamonds as the human ship drifted in the middle of nowhere. The crew was in trouble, and everyone on board knew it. The ship had flown too far into uncharted space where no one had been. Before, the engines were failing, and the ship was slowly being pulled toward a dangerous asteroid field. "Captain, we're losing power," one of the engineers shouted, panic in his voice. The captain, a calm woman named Sarah, tried to stay focused. She glanced at the screen in front of her, and it was clear that their situation was getting worse. The ship was too far from any friendly systems to ask for help. No one could hear them in this part of the galaxy. There was no way out. Everyone was tense. The crew members moved quickly, trying to fix broken systems and stop the ship from breaking apart, but nothing was working. Sarah looked at the crew around her, knowing that they were running out of time. The asteroid field was only minutes away, and if they hit it, the ship would be destroyed. There was no other option left. "Get me the mechanic," Captain Sarah ordered. The mechanic, a quiet man named Adam, rushed to the bridge. His hands were already covered in grease from the engine repairs, but his face was serious as he stepped up. To the captain, "Adam, we need those engines fixed now," Sarah said, her voice shaking a little. "Or we won't make it out of here alive." Adam looked at the control panel. The damage was clear. The engines had taken too much stress, and there was no way they would hold up for much longer. But Adam had an idea. He wasn't sure if it would work, but it was their only hope. "I can try to reroute the power, but I'll need about 10 minutes, Adam said, his voice steady but uncertain. "Do it," Sarah said without hesitation. "We don't have that long." Adam quickly moved to the control panel and began working, his hands flying over the buttons and switches. It was a delicate job, one that required complete focus. The whole ship seemed to hold its breath as he worked. Each second felt like an eternity, and Adam could feel the pressure building. Outside, the asteroid field was getting closer. He could hear the crew murmuring in fear, but he pushed the sound away, focusing only on the task at hand. The ship's fate rested in his hands. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed through the ship. The engines gave a violent shake, and for a moment, Adam thought they were done for. The ship was already starting to drift toward the field, and there was no time to lose. Adam worked faster, trying to keep his hands steady. 10 seconds, he muttered to himself. Just 10 seconds. Then something strange happened. As Adam worked, the control panel flickered and then turned completely black. The ship's lights went out and everything went quiet. "Adam?" Sarah's voice came through the darkness. "What's happening?" The ship was completely offline. He had to think fast. Without any power, the ship would fall into the asteroid field, and they would all die. But then, as if by magic, the screen came back to life. The engines roared to life, and the ship jolted forward, away from the deadly asteroid field. "It work?" Sarah's voice was filled with disbelief. Adam looked at the control panel amazed. The power was back. The ship was moving again. They had done it. They were going to survive. "Yes, Captain," Adam said, a small smile creeping onto his face. "I think it worked." The crew let out a cheer of relief. The ship had just escaped certain destruction. Adam couldn't believe what had just happened. It saved them all, but he didn't know how long it would last. The engines were still unstable, but for now, they were safe. Just as the crew began to celebrate, something else caught their attention. 2 ships appeared on the radar. They were unlike anything Adam had ever seen before, sleek, fast, and glowing. With strange light, the ships moved toward them at incredible speed. "Who are they?" Sarah asked, her voice filled with concern. Before anyone could answer, the ships stopped just outside of their range. 2 figures appeared on the view screen. They were tall, graceful, and completely alien in appearance. Their skin shimmered in a way that seemed almost unnatural. They had identical features, but there was something about them that made them look almost otherworldly. One of them spoke, their voice calm and clear. "We've been watching. Your actions were impressive, human, but you're not out of danger yet." Adam stood frozen. These aliens were not like any species they had ever encountered before. But one thing was clear. They weren't here to attack. Instead, they were here for something else, something that Adam didn't yet understand. "Who are you?" Sarah asked, her voice steady despite the shock. The alien twin's smile was faint, almost mysterious. "We are the last hope for our people, and we have an offer for you, human." Adam's heart skipped a beat. What could they want with him? The bridge was silent, except for the faint hum of the ship's systems coming back to life. The crew stared at the view screen, unsure of what to expect next. The two alien figures standing side by side didn't move. Their presence was calm, yet unsettling. Their long, graceful bodies shimmered under the lights of the human ship, and their eyes glowed with an unnatural intensity. Despite their beauty, it was clear they were not of this world, Sarah. The captain was the first to speak, her voice steady, but filled with curiosity. "Who are you, and what do you want with us?" The alien twins shared a brief glance. The one on the left, a tall female with flowing dark hair, spoke first. "We are called the Inari. We come from a faraway system, beyond the known galaxy." Her voice was soft, like the sound of wind through trees, but it carried an undeniable power. Twin, a male with piercing silver eyes, added, "Our people are facing extinction. We are in search of a solution, one that can only come from humans." The crew exchanged confused glances. Adam, the mechanic who had just saved the ship, couldn't help but feel a rising sense of unease. What did they mean? Only from humans? His mind raced, trying to make sense of the situation. "What do you mean by that?" Sarah asked, narrowing her eyes. Why would you need a human?" The female Inari stepped forward, her movement fluid and graceful. "Your species possesses a unique resilience, a spirit that we have never seen in any other race. We believe that with your help, we can turn the tide for our people." Adam's brow furrowed. "Help? How?" The male twin stepped in. "We need someone who can repair advanced technologies, someone with skills beyond what most other species possess." "You, human, proved yourself capable when you saved our ship. That's why we've come to you." Sarah, still unsure of the twins' true intentions, crossed her arms. "And what exactly are you asking for?" The female twin's eyes gleamed with a quiet, mysterious intensity. "We need your help to infiltrate a powerful empire, an empire that holds the key to our survival. They possess technology that could save us, but they won't share it willingly. We need someone who can get inside their walls and retrieve it." Adam felt his heart race. This wasn't just some diplomatic mission, it sounded like a full-scale war. He couldn't help but feel a sense of dread settling in his stomach. He wasn't a soldier, he was a mechanic. What could he possibly do in a situation like this? The twins were already speaking again, as if reading his thoughts. "We are not asking you to fight," the male twin explained, his voice smooth and calming. "We are asking you to use your talents, your understanding of machinery, of systems. The enemy's technology is complex, but it has weaknesses. We need you to help us exploit those weaknesses." Adam's mind was spinning. Could he really help them? The very idea of getting involved with something so dangerous felt like a death sentence. But then, something in him stirred. The twins had saved their ship. They had no reason to lie. And whatever they were asking for, it was clear that they were desperate. "I'm not a soldier," Adam said slowly, still trying to grasp the full weight of what they were asking. "I'm just a mechanic. Why do you think I can help you with something like this?" The male twin's gaze softened, and for a moment, Adam saw a glimpse of vulnerability in his silver eyes. "Because you saved us," he said quietly. "Are not just a mechanic. You have something special. The way you think, the way you understand machines, ... It's rare. We've been watching you." Sarah stepped forward. "Why us, though? Why did you come all the way here? Surely you must know that we are just a small, unimportant species compared to the empires you're talking about." The female twin smiled faintly, maybe small in numbers, but you have something we need, something no other species has. And that's why we've come to you. Adam felt a mix of fear and excitement bubbling up inside him. This was too big, too risky, but he couldn't ignore the feeling that this was his chance to make a difference. He'd spent his whole life fixing things, machines, engines, ships, but now he had the chance to fix something much bigger. The fate of an entire species. I don't know if I can do it, Adam admitted, shaking his head slightly. Is beyond anything I've ever worked on before. The female twin's eyes softened. You don't have to do it alone. We will be with you every step of the way. Together, we can do this. For a moment, there was a heavy silence in the room. The entire crew was waiting for Adam's answer. He glanced at Sarah, who was watching him closely. She nodded, as if giving him permission to make the decision. Adam took a deep breath. He couldn't deny that he felt an overwhelming urge to help, despite the danger. The twins had trusted him once, and they were asking for his help again. How could he refuse? All right, he said, his voice steady, despite the nervousness in his chest. I'll help you, but I want to know everything. Hey, what's really going on, and why do you need me? The twins exchanged a look, and for the first time, they seemed almost ... relieved. The female twin stepped forward, a soft smile playing at the edges of her lips. Thank you, she said. You don't know what this means to us, Adam nodded, still unsure of what he had just agreed to, but determined to see it through. The galaxy was a dangerous place. Maybe, just maybe, he could make a difference. Adam stood in the middle of the bridge, staring at the two alien twins. Their presence felt powerful, yet peaceful at the same time. They were not threatening, but there was a quiet intensity in the air. The crew members, still recovering from the chaos of the near disaster, watched with curiosity. Everyone was wondering the same thing. What did the aliens want from them? The male twin, whose silver eyes had a strange glow, spoke first. Now that you've agreed to help us, there are a few things you need to understand. This mission is dangerous, and we cannot promise you safety. But if you choose to join us, we will make sure you're prepared. Adam shifted his weight, feeling both nervous and excited. He wasn't a soldier, but this felt bigger than anything he had ever done. He looked at Sarah, who gave him a small, encouraging nod. He took a deep breath and focused on the twins. What exactly are we doing? Adam asked, trying to calm the storm of questions in his mind. The female twin smiled gently. We are not asking you to fight in a battle. You're asking for your help in infiltrating a highly advanced enemy faction. They hold the technology that we need, and we cannot get it without your skills. This is not a typical mission. It will require careful planning, and you must be willing to do whatever it takes. The words, whatever it takes, echoed in Adam's mind. He had never been asked to do something this big before. It felt like stepping into a whole new world, one that was dangerous, mysterious, and full of unknowns. And what exactly does this technology do? Adam asked, trying to piece together the situation. Why is it so important to you? The male twin looked at him with a serious expression. Technology we seek could save my people from extinction. It has the power to change the course of our future, to give us a chance to survive and rebuild. But the faction that controls it is ruthless. They will not give it to us freely. That's where you come in. Adam's mind raced. A powerful technology that could save a species. Sounded almost too good to be true. But he had already seen what the twins were capable of. They had saved their ship from certain destruction. They were not ordinary aliens. They were incredibly advanced. They had a mission that was now his mission, too. And what do I get out of this? Adam asked, his voice steady despite his growing unease. The female twin stepped forward. Her eyes filled with both kindness and determination. We will reward you beyond your imagination. If you succeed in this mission, we will provide you with resources, technology, and knowledge unlike anything your species has ever seen. We can help you understand the secrets of the galaxy, unlock powers that only a few beings in the universe possess. Adam felt a shiver run down his spine. The idea of knowing the galaxy's deepest secrets, having access to technology that could make him more than just a mechanicate, was tempting. But even as he felt the excitement building inside him, he couldn't ignore the danger. He would be risking everything for something he didn't fully understand. Why me? Adam asked, his voice quiet. There are others who are better suited for a mission like this. Why would you pick someone like me? The male twin's silver eyes met his with an intensity that made Adam feel like the alien could see right through him. You are special, human. You have a gift. Your mind works in ways that are rare, even among advanced species. Your ability to understand and fix complex systems, to think outside the box, it's what we need. We've watched you. We know you can do this. Adam swallowed hard. The idea of having his skills recognized by these powerful beings was both flattering and terrifying. He had never thought of himself as anything special. He was just a mechanic doing his job. But if the twins were right, maybe he could do more than fix machines. Maybe he could fix the future of an entire species. He turned to Sarah again, who was still watching him closely. He could see the concern in her eyes, but also a kind of trust. She had always supported him, and now, more than ever, he could feel that support. I don't know if I'm ready for this, Adam admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. But I can't ignore the fact that if I don't help you, you might not survive. You're asking me to change everything I know, to step into a world I don't understand. The female twin nodded, understanding the weight of his words. We don't expect you to be ready right now, but we can help you. We will train you, guide you, and make sure you have everything you need. The choice is yours, Adam. We can't promise an easy path, but we can promise that if you help us, you will change the fate of our people, and perhaps even your own. Adam closed his eyes, taking a deep breath. He thought of his life on Earth, his family, his friends, his quiet life as a mechanic. He had always wanted something more, something bigger, but this was beyond anything he could have imagined. Was he truly ready to step into a galaxy full of unknowns? Could he really help these aliens save their people? Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Adam made his decision. He opened his eyes. Meeting the twins' gaze, I'll help you. I don't know what will happen, but I can't turn my back on you now. If this technology can save you, then I'll do what I can to get it. The twins exchanged a look, and for the first time, they both smiled. It was a genuine smile, one filled with relief and gratitude. Thank you, the male twin said, his voice softer now. You don't know what this means to us, Adam nodded, still unsure of what lay ahead, but determined to face whatever came next. This was the beginning of a journey unlike anything he had ever imagined. The decision had been made. Mechanic, who had once thought of himself as just a small part of the human crew, now stood on the edge of something far bigger than anything he had ever imagined. The twins, the Inari, had made it clear that his skills were needed for a mission that would change the future of their entire species. The tension in the air was palpable, and Adam could feel the weight of his choice pressing down on him. He had agreed to help them, but what would that really mean? How would a mechanic like him, someone who had never been trained for battle or strategy, be able to help these powerful, advanced beings infiltrate the enemy empire? He didn't have the answers, but he knew that backing out now wasn't an option. The stakes were too high. The twins' trust in him was something he couldn't ignore. The first step of the mission was training. The twins had promised to teach him everything he needed to know, and now it was time to see if they could keep that promise. The next few days passed in a blur of learning. The twins, especially the female twin, whose name Adam learned was Lyra, worked closely with him. He taught him not only about their technology, but also about the enemy they were going to face. The faction they were targeting was powerful and ruthless, with ships and weapons that dwarfed anything the human race had ever seen. Adam could feel the pressure building. It was no longer just about repairing ships, it was about taking on an empire. Lyra and her brother Kale were patient instructors, showing Adam how to operate alien systems that felt both familiar and foreign. They taught him the basics of their technology, how their ships moved, how to bypass their security systems, and how to understand their language. It wasn't easy, but Adam found himself grasping the concepts quicker than he expected. His mind, which had always been quick to understand machinery, was beginning to make sense of the alien technology, despite his growing knowledge. Adam couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. He was learning, but he was still far from ready. He had seen the sheer power of the twins, and now he was learning about the enemy they were going to face. He was just one person. Could he really make a difference in a war that seemed so vast? One evening, after a long day of lessons, Adam, found himself sitting alone in the ship's control room, staring out at the stars. The quiet of space was both peaceful and unnerving. It was in this moment of silence that Lyra came to find him. She didn't say anything at first, just sat down beside him, her eyes on the stars as well. For a long time, neither of them spoke. Finally, Lyra broke the silence. "You're worried." Adam looked at her, surprised. He hadn't said a word, yet she had noticed. "I don't know what I'm doing," he admitted. "I'm just a mechanic. I fix things. I don't fight battles. I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing in this mission." Lyra turned to face him, her gaze kind and understanding. "May not think you're a warrior, Adam, but you've already proven that you have the strength to do something no one else could. You saved our ship when everyone else thought it was lost. You have something inside you that's more important than any weapon or training." Adam shook his head, unsure of what she meant. "But this isn't about fixing a ship. This is war. What if I mess up? What if I'm not enough?" Lyra smiled softly. "That's why we're here. You're not alone in this, Adam. We'll be with you every saint. EP of the way, we believe in you." Adam felt a mix of gratitude and uncertainty. The twins had given him their trust, and now he couldn't afford to let them down. But the fear of failure still lingered, heavy in his chest. How could he possibly be enough? Cale appeared at the doorway, his silver eyes sharp. "It's time," he said simply. Lyra stood and nodded. "The mission begins tomorrow. We've prepared as much as we can, but now it's up to you to decide how far you're willing to go." Adam took a deep breath and stood up, his mind racing. This was it. There was no turning back now. He had made his choice, and he was committed. The twins had shown him kindness and trust, and now it was time for him to prove that he was worthy of that trust. The next day, they set off toward the enemy empire. The journey was long, and Adam's heart raced with every passing hour. He had spent days learning about the enemy's technology, but now he was about to face them in person. It wasn't just about understanding their systems, it was about surviving in a world where danger could be waiting around every corner as the ship moved deeper into enemy space. Adam felt a sense of unease grow inside him. The stars outside looked like distant points of light, but the reality of what lay ahead was much darker. He couldn't help but wonder what they would find when they reached their destination. Would the enemy be waiting for them, or would they walk into a trap? Lyra and Cale were calm, focused. They had faced wars before, and they knew the risks. But for Adam, this was new. He was no longer just a mechanic on a human ship. He was part of something much larger. And as the ship drew closer to the enemy's stronghold, he couldn't shake the feeling that the true test was only just beginning. The journey into enemy space felt like a never-ending stretch of darkness. The stars outside the ship's windows flickered like distant, unreachable dreams. Adam sat quietly in the ship's control room, staring at the blinking lights and feeling the weight of the mission settle heavily on his shoulders. He had learned much from the twins Lyra and Cale over the past few weeks. But as they neared their destination, a creeping sense of uncertainty began to grow inside him. Everything had seemed clear when they first started. The twins had explained their mission: infiltrate the enemy empire, retrieve the technology they needed, and get out undetected. But now, with the enemy's stronghold just ahead, Adam wasn't so sure. The risks felt much higher than he had imagined. And the more he learned about the enemy, the more he realized how little he truly understood. "What if we're walking right into a trap?" Adam muttered to himself, his fingers tapping nervously against the console. Cale, who had been standing in the doorway, heard the comment and walked over. "We know the risks, Adam. There's no turning back now." His silver eyes were steady, unwavering. "You've trained for this? You ready?" Adam looked at him, but the doubt in his mind was hard to shake. "I don't feel ready. This is different than what I've worked on before. Fixing machines doesn't prepare you for this kind of danger." Lyra appeared behind them, her presence as calm as ever. "We're in this together, Adam," she said softly. "If anyone can do it, it's you. We wouldn't have chosen you for this mission if we didn't believe in you." The words were comforting, but Adam still felt the gnawing uncertainty. In his chest, he had never been a fighter, had always been someone who fixed things, someone who made things work. Now, he was supposed to infiltrate an empire, steal technology, and somehow survive without getting caught. The reality of what he had agreed to was beginning to sink in. As the ship drew closer to the enemy's stronghold, the atmosphere on board grew tense. The twins were preparing for the mission, gathering equipment and discussing their plan in hushed tones. Adam had learned much from them, but there was still so much he didn't know. They had been careful not to tell him everything, and he was starting to wonder why he spent the night in the control room, trying to clear his mind. It was late, and the ship was quieter now. The hum of the engines, the only sound in the darkness. Adam had just begun to doze off when he heard footsteps outside the door. He sat up quickly, heart racing. He wasn't expecting anyone. Lyra entered, her face soft with concern. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice quiet. Adam nodded and gestured. For her to sit, of course. She took a seat across from him, her eyes searching his face. "I know you've been feeling unsure about this mission," she said gently. "I want you to know that we trust you. We wouldn't be here without you." Adam ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. "It's not about trust. It's about what's going to happen once we're inside. What if I fail? What if I can't do this?" Lyra's gaze softened. "You won't fail. I know you won't." Adam looked at her, feeling a mix of gratitude and doubt. He wanted to believe her, but the weight of the mission was too much. "What if you're wrong?" whispered. Lyra reached across the table, placing her hand gently on his. "We don't have all the answers, but we'll face this together." Before Adam could respond, the ship suddenly shook violently. The lights flickered, and the warning siren blared, cutting through the tension in the room. Adam jumped to his feet. "What's happening?" he asked, panic creeping into his voice. Kale's voice crackled over the intercom. "We've been detected. The enemy is here." Adam's heart skipped a beat already. "How?" Lyra's face hardened with determination. "We don't know. But we're not going down without a fight." The twins quickly sprang into action, rushing to the control room to take charge. Adam followed them, his mind racing. He had barely begun to process what was happening when the ship rocked again, this time more violently. "We have to get out of here," Adam said, panic rising in his chest. "They'll destroy us." Kale, his eyes sharp and focused, turned to Adam. "Not if we can help it. We're not running. We're fighting, but we're outmatched." Adam protested. "We don't have the firepower to take them on." The tension in the room thickened as Kale and Lyra exchanged a brief, unreadable look. It was then that Adam realized something was wrong, something they weren't telling him. Lyra looked at Adam, her expression tight. "There's something we haven't told you. We didn't come here to fight just anyone. The ones who took everything from us?" Adam felt a chill run through him. "What do you mean?" Kale stepped forward, his voice low and filled with anger. "The enemy isn't just a faction, it's a betrayal. The ones we're up against are not strangers to us. They are our own people, our leaders, our allies, the ones who turned their backs on us. They are the ones who abandoned us when we needed them the most." Adam's mind spun. "You're saying we've been sent to fight your own people?" Lyra nodded grimly. "Yes, and now you're a part of it. Whether you like it or not." The weight of the truth hit Adam like a punch to the gut. He had been so focused on the mission, so caught up in the belief that he was helping save a people in need. But now, everything had changed. The twins weren't just fighting for survival, they were fighting for revenge. "Do you still want to help us, Adam?" Kale asked, his voice cold and steady. Adam swallowed hard, his thoughts racing. He didn't know what the future held, or if he was ready for the truth. He had already made his choice. "I'm with you," Adam said, his voice steady, despite the storm of emotions inside him. "Let's finish this." The ship shuddered as it was hit again. The lights flickered, casting shadows across the control room, and the alarm blared louder. Adam's heart raced. The reality of their situation was crashing down on him. The enemy wasn't just some unknown force. They were fighting against their own people, those who had once stood with the Inari. Twins. Lyra and Kale had been leading them into danger, but now it felt like everything was spiraling out of control. Adam had agreed to help them, to take on a mission that seemed impossible. But now, with the truth laid out before him, the weight of his decision felt heavier than ever. The enemy ships were closing in fast. The Inari twins were moving quickly, adjusting the ship's systems, their calm, focused energy filling the room. Despite the chaos around them, they worked in perfect sync, like a well-oiled machine. Adam, however, was struggling to make sense of it all. His mind was spinning. "They're not just enemies," Adam said, his voice low. "They're your leaders. You've been betrayed." Lyra didn't answer right away. She simply kept working, adjusting the controls with precision. Kale, standing beside her, glanced at Adam, his expression hardening. "Yes," Kale said quietly. "The very people we once called our leaders. They turned their backs on us when we needed them the most." Felt his breath catch. He had known they were fighting a dangerous enemy, but this was a betrayal of the highest order. The Inari had once been powerful, respected across the galaxy, but now they were on the run. Here Adam was, pulled into the heart of it. "How did it come to this?" Adam asked, his voice filled with disbelief. He had never expected such a twist. It felt like a story straight out of a war novel, but this was real. These were real people, real consequences. Lyra finally looked at him, her eyes filled with a mixture of sadness and determination. The galaxy was changing, power shifted, and those in charge saw us as weak. They feared what we might become, so they left us behind, forcing us into exile. We became targets for those who wanted to control everything. Adam shook his head. "But why didn't you tell us this from the beginning?" "Oh, you've been using me, haven't you? You kept all of this a secret?" Kale stepped forward, his face hard with anger. "It wasn't a secret, Adam. It was a necessity. You needed to trust us enough to help. I couldn't have told you the truth. Until now, you wouldn't have understood." Adam could feel the tension in the room growing. His hands clenched at his sides as the anger he had been holding in bubbled to the surface. "I trusted you both. Thought we were doing the right thing." Lyra's face softened. "And we are, Adam. We are. We're fighting for our survival. If we don't stop them now, they will continue to destroy us." The ship shuddered again, and this time, Adam could feel the force of the blast in his bones. He turned quickly, noticing the damage was already starting to show on the ship's monitors. "We're not going to survive much longer if we don't take action." Kale looked at him sharply. "We know that. We've been planning for this. We needed your help to do it." "You can't fix everything with a wrench, Adam. This is a fight that requires more than just machines." Adam's mind was racing. He didn't know if he could handle the truth that had been thrown at him. His whole life had been about fixing things, making them work. But this was beyond anything he had ever imagined. "We're not just repairing a ship here, are we?" Adam said, his voice low. "We're trying to repair your whole world." Lyra nodded slowly. "Yes, that's what we've been trying to do all along. We just needed the right person to help us see it through." Adam was silent for a moment. His heart was still heavy with doubt, but a part of him understood what they were trying to do. It wasn't just about the mission, it was about survival. It was about fighting back against those who had torn apart everything the Inari twins had known. Now they were asking for his help. "How do we fight them?" Adam asked finally, his voice steady. "What's our plan?" Kale turned to face him, his eyes hard and focused. "First, we need to disable their defense systems. We've been tracking their fleet, and we know where their weaknesses are. If we can get in close enough, we can disrupt their shields and give ourselves a chance to attack." Adam nodded, his mind quickly jumping into gear. He wasn't a fighter, but he was a mechanic. And if there was one thing he knew how to do, it was find weaknesses and fix them. "All right," Adam said, taking a deep breath. "Let's get to work." The ship jolted again, more violently this time. The enemy was here, and they weren't going to wait. Lyra and Kale moved swiftly, preparing for the next phase of their plan. Adam joined them, his hands flying over the console as he worked to adjust the ship's systems. He was no soldier, but he could see the damage that had been done to the ship. It wasn't too late. They could still do this. "We have to disable their weapons first," Kale said, his voice urgent. "Adam, you need to help us." Adam's heart raced as he understood what was at stake. This wasn't just a mission anymore. This was a battle for survival, for everything the twins had lost. And for the first time, Adam felt the weight of the responsibility he had taken on. He looked at the twins, their faces determined but filled with the pain of everything they had lost. "Let's do this," Adam said, his voice firm. "Let's take them down." The air in the control room was thick with tension. The ship was shaking under the force of the enemy's attacks, and the alarms blared louder than ever. Hands moved quickly over the console, his mind focused. He wasn't a soldier, but he had learned quickly. Fixing things, repairing machines, had been his life. His skills were being tested in a way he had never imagined. He could hear Lyra and Kale giving commands to the crew, their voices calm but filled with urgency. The Inari twins had always been in control, but now even they were showing signs of strain. The mission had gone from something they could handle to something they might not survive. "We need to get close," Kale said, his voice sharp. "If we're going to disable their weapons, we need to get inside their shield perimeter." Adam nodded. He had been working on a plan, and now it was time to put it into action. "I can reroute the ship's power to the shields. It will give us the boost we need to get through their defenses." Lyra's eyes flicked to Adam, her expression both worried and impressed. "Do it, Adam, but be quick. We don't have much time." Adam didn't hesitate, quickly adjusted the controls, rerouting power from the engines to the shields. The ship groaned as it took the strain, but it held together. They had a chance now. If they could get close enough to the enemy ships, they might be able to disable them before it was too late. The enemy's ship loomed large on the view screen. Its weapons were aimed directly at them, and Adam knew that they were running out of time. One more hit and they could be done for. "We're almost there," Kale said, his voice tense. "Adam, how much longer?" Adam's fingers danced over the console, sweat forming on his brow. He could feel the ship shuddering under the stress, and his heart raced. "Just a few more seconds. Hold on." Lyra stepped forward, her face set in determination. "We can't fail now. We've come too far." The seconds stretched on forever as Adam worked to power up the ship's weapons. The enemy ship fired once more, sending a shockwave through the control room. The lights flickered, and for a moment, Adam feared that they had lost. But then, with a low hum, the ship's weapons powered up. "Now," Adam shouted. He pressed the final button, sending a surge of energy into the ship's weapons systems. A beam of energy shot out from their ship, hitting the enemy's shields. The explosion rocked the ship, and for a moment, Adam feared it hadn't worked. But then, the enemy ship's shields flickered and went dark. "We've done it," Kale exclaimed, a note of relief in his voice. But Adam wasn't done yet. They still had to make it inside. He worked quickly, adjusting the ship's course, guiding them straight for the enemy's weak point. This was at the final step. If they succeeded, they would take down the enemy. If they failed, it would all be over. The ship shook again, but this time, it wasn't from enemy fire. They were close now. Adam could feel the intensity of the moment building. "Hold steady," Kale shouted to the crew. Adam's hands moved over the controls one last time. With a final burst of energy, the ship surged forward. They were inside. The enemy's defenses had been breached, and now was time for the final assault. Lyra's voice crackled over the intercom. "We're in now. We need to disable their core systems." Adam looked at her, his mind racing. They had made it this far, but the enemy's core was heavily guarded. He wasn't sure if they could make it in time, but they had no other choice. Stood up, determination setting into his chest. "We'll do it together. We'll take them down." The crew moved quickly, each person carrying out their part of the plan. Adam followed Kale and Lyra down to the lower levels of the ship. They had to get to the core, the heart of the enemy's power. The ship's hallways were eerily quiet as they moved through the corridors, the sound of their footsteps echoing off the walls. When they reached the central chamber, Adam could feel the tension in the air. The enemy was everywhere, and they would be prepared for anything. Lyra and Kale moved ahead, their weapons raised, while Adam stayed close behind, his heart racing. The chamber doors slid open with a low hiss, and the enemy was waiting for them. Armed soldiers stood in defensive positions, their weapons aimed at the intruders. This was what they had been training for. Kale and Lyra led the charge, engaging the enemy soldiers in a fast-paced battle. Adam watched, his mind still focused on the mission. He wasn't a fighter, but he knew that he had to help. He saw an opening, and without thinking, he moved into the fray. Using his skills to disable the enemy's weapon systems one by one, the battle raged on, but Adam didn't stop. Every step brought them closer to their goal. And when they finally reached the central control panel, Adam knew that this was their last chance. He pressed his hands to the control panel, quickly reprogramming the system. The countdown had begun. They had moments left. "Get ready," Kale shouted, his voice filled with urgency. The countdown reached its final seconds. Adam hit the final button, and the system powered down. The enemy's core systems had been disabled. They had done it. But as the crew stood there, panting and exhausted, Adam knew that this victory came at a cost. They had stopped the enemy, but the road ahead was still uncertain. Kale turned to Adam, his face grim. "We've won this battle, but there's more to come. Are you ready for what's next?" Adam stood tall, his eyes focused on the future. "Whatever comes next, I'm ready. We'll fight together."